Good morning, everyone. Today is Thursday, May. Hi there, who's on? Hello? Must have been it was a 909 area code, okay. Okay, so today's May 5th, 2022, time is 9:01 a.m., officially calling the meeting to order. It is our weekly community development meeting, and I'm going to ask, David, please lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, then. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Hearing none. Conflicts of interest? None. So our first is a signing item, and that's ZON 08-0003. That's a zone change. For Hagedorn Hospitality, it's an order of decision and a modified conditional zoning development agreement. Vlad?
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Vlad Finkel with Kootenai County Community Development.
Is there a mic on or something?
Can you hear me now?
That's a little better. Go ahead.
That's better.
The board recently approved a modification to the existing zone development agreement, and staff has prepared an order of decision for your review and signing. I believe Civil Deputy Prosecuting Attorney Pat Braden has reviewed the final draft of the modified zone development agreement and is ready for recordation as well. I'm not sure if we have all the party signatures. We do. So at this point, it's just a formality to approve the signing of the order and to allow the applicant to record the modified CCDA.
Okay. Any questions for Vlad? No? Okay. Motion, please.
I move that we execute the order of decision in case ZON 08003 Hagedorn Hospitality Order of Decision and modified CZDA.
Second.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan is excused. Chair Filios.
Aye, and the motion is carried, and so we're executing the order of decision.
This is the order.
Thank you.
I checked the yes, I assume that's what.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And I do have the CZDA too if we need
Okay.
it.
That's the modified. Thank you. All right, then.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to deliberation segment. This is an action item, and it's MSP 21-0007. I presume this is a major subdivision, which it is. Rebel Stroke Ranch, a request by Trail Creek Developments LLC for preliminary approval of a major sub consisting of 20 residential lots on 3 parcels of land totaling 98.5 acres in the rural zone. Vlad, take it away.
Once again, for the record, Vlad Finkel with Kootenai County Community Development. Thank you for that brief introduction, Chairman Filios. The subject property is located directly to the west of Silverwood Theme Park. It's accessed by Old Highway 95. The site is relatively flat, and a portion of it is still vegetated, while the western portion adjacent to the old highway is pasture land and has been denuded. This is an aerial overlay of the subject property in question. The site is currently vacant of any structures. The current zoning is rural, however, it is abutting commercial zoning to the east, which is Silverwood Theme Park, and rural to the north, west, and south. A majority of development to the north, south, and west is primarily 5-acre tracts of land that are residential in nature. The comp plan designation is suburban of the subject property, as well as transitional directly to the north, which is part of the city of Athol area of city impact. However, the subject property is not part of the ACI. This is the proposed layout of the subject property. There will be 2 access points from Old Highway 95. Water will be provided by Gem State Water Company, and septic will be treated via individual septic systems. These are some of the photos of the property in question. We did solicit comments from the agencies listed on this slide. A majority of the responses were typical with standard requirements and recommendations. The only 2 points that I'd like to highlight are the Gem Water State response, as well as Idaho Department of Water Resources. Idaho Department of Water Resources are asking to have the applicant transition the water rights from Bitterroot Water to Gem State, who recently acquired Bitterroot Water Company, and that will be done prior to final plat approval, and that the applicant must comply with the Gem State water connection requirements and annex property into their service area. The remaining comments are pretty standard. The applicant will have to enter into a road development agreement with the highway district. I believe the roads are going to be privately maintained by the homeowners association, but they will be constructed to highway district standards. We received 3 comments in opposition, 1 neutral. The concerns are pretty standard: additional increasing traffic, road maintenance, school capacity challenges, impacts to utility providers, which is something that I haven't seen before, but it's quite normal that there's always an impact to utility providers. Additional burden on emergency responses in terms of time to provide those services. The only one that I want to highlight on is that the school capacity challenges have been brought up to us over the course of last year by the Lakeland School District Superintendent. We all understand those concerns, that there is increase in enrollment. Unfortunately, as I have stated in several prior cases, there's currently no mechanism for what you would call impact fees at a state level to impose onto the new development. It's all done on a voluntary basis. And so as it stands, we can only acknowledge those concerns and hope that there could be some sort of solution down the road to make those accommodations for new students and new facilities to address increase in enrollment. Staff's analysis is that the proposal is compatible with surrounding residential development that is to the north, west, and south. The applicant has to comply with the public agency requirements prior to final plat approval. The applicant has to construct all the infrastructure improvements prior to final plat approval or bond for those, and we would get that verification prior to final plat approval. The hearing examiner heard this request on April 7th and subsequently recommended approval. I stand for any questions that you have at this time.
Bill, anything? I guess, it seems fairly straightforward. My question has to do with the schools. To date, I've never seen that as a substantive consideration, although there's certainly an impact. What do you guys think? I mean, I know we're seriously considering impact fees, right? We have Galena Consulting is underway for a few of our departments,
But not for schools, because
But
the
not
state
for
law
schools.
doesn't allow for it. It's really frustrating, frankly. It's the sort of thing, if you sent me, I'd go to the legislature and say, things really need to change statewide.
Yeah, because there's a lot of growth areas in the state, it's not just here. unfortunately, many legislators are from areas that are not growing, so they don't necessarily understand the scope of the issue.
But to not.
The problem,
yeah,
the
go ahead.
problem is, on the one hand, your state law requires you in your planning, including the, comprehensive planning, to consider impact on schools. It's specifically called out. But on the other hand, it doesn't give,
Any mechanism.
give the tools to
Right.
financially address that. In fact, it's often said that Idaho is the most difficult state in the nation to build a school because of the requirements for bonds or levies to build schools, on the school district's part. Really, that's the only action we can really take, aside from a massive subdivision like Coeur d'Alene Place, which, likely isn't likely to get approval from the county, but development of that on that scale would typically include at least land for schools.
Right.
And with relatively small major subdivisions like that, that kind of thing's not gonna pencil out. So we're kind of in this conundrum, and it really is gonna take, initially probably action on behalf of Lakeland School District to try to get new schools built, and more long-term legislative action to get impact fees passed to benefit, to help build schools because of growth, and, possibly other means to ease the burden on school district to build new schools when they have to build them.
If we were confronted, and this is hypothetical, with a situation where we made a decision, a board-level decision, that said, you know what, we have this proposed subdivision, we don't think the schools are adequate, and we vote to deny, we would lose in court, wouldn't we?
On a subdivision like this, most likely.
Right.
If you had a subdivision of
Larger.
larger scale where that was more, you could
The
demonstrate a
impact
more,
was greater, right.
yeah, demonstrate a more direct impact to the schools, then it would be more legally defensible.
Okay.
I would just chime in,
Yeah.
the only other thing that seems to me would be easier than impact fees is if we just had what's standard in other states, which is a fee in lieu of or a land dedication requirement. So in a case like this, it'd be a fee in lieu of, because there's no land dedication that really equates to this small of a subdivision. But that builds up over time, and 10, 15 years of that, you have real money and real land for a school district.
Interestingly enough, that's what the highway districts do for roads. And, thus far, they haven't been challenged on that in terms of, being a hidden impact fee or anything like that.
That's interesting.
The only issue becomes, whether it's commensurate with the impacts of the subdivision on the road system, the constitutional analysis.
Okay. Well, thank you. That was informative. Bill, nothing? You okay? Motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve the request for preliminary approval of the major subdivision MSP 21-0007. I can't read that part.
Revelstoke Ranch.
Revelstoke Ranch, a request by Trail Creek Development LLC.
Second.
Bill Brooks.
Aye.
Commissioner Duncan is excused. Chair Philios.
Aye, and the motion is carried. Thank you. So MSP, Major Sub 21-0007, preliminary approval is hereby granted. Okay, that concludes, excuse me, the deliberation segment of our meeting. Moving on to the business segment. Thank you, Vlad. Discussion of fiscal year 2022 community development budget, informational. David, please.
Commissioners, just wanted to keep you apprised that our consulting budget is at 96%. That you will recall is something we discussed early on. We're about where I thought we'd be. And the offset is that we have enough building permits and other permits coming through that I think in the end, it'll balance out. But for this next budget session, I'm thinking we ought to frankly double our consulting budget, notwithstanding the recommendation from budgeting staff that we keep it where it is, because we have obvious proof that there's a need. And I'm thinking next year is going to be equally as busy, and we'll have the same sorts of land use planning consulting needs as well as building permit reviews. So again, just informational.
Okay. Are the permit subcontractors keeping up?
No, not on the building permit side. They do 10 a week, which is as much as their contract requires. But we still have issues, notwithstanding Christina spending inordinate amounts of time with the contractor staff, just explaining, in Kootenai County, we do it this way. We don't need you to bear down on these very strict enforcement matters of the code. That goes on day in, day out. Christina's frustrated. And a large part of it is the contractors have the same problem we have, turnover. And then the new people don't know, and then we end up training them, and then, with new, you never can predict how it's going to work.
And still a problem with incomplete submissions?
Oh, yeah, that's actually the biggest problem.
The biggest.
I spent the better part of yesterday responding to a case where a man is complaining it had been a year and a half, and when I looked into it, a year and 2 months of it was his delays in getting back to our request for complete information.
Anything?
No. Thank you, David.
Sure.
It just,
I was trying to figure that out because
It's a hard one. I still get people, I had 3 in the last month asking me to reinstate the opt-out program. And I have a good answer for that.
get ready, it's gonna come up again.
I know. But we can start with the notion that the Attorney General has opined that this is a bad idea.
wow.
Yeah, we have that now where we didn't have it
Yeah, we
before.
do. That's correct, Pat. Okay. I have no other questions. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Okay, then. We don't call for public comment today, so time is, excuse me, 9:18, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.